Hi everybody, welcome. Hi Team Create Jobs. So we're just going to wait a few minutes before we get started, wait for a few more people to join the call, and then we'll kick right off. So we're probably going to get started at around 5 past, maybe 10 past, depending on the time. So, hi guys.
Bravo, you look nice.
Thanks, Jamal.
Right.
I did say I really love this instrumental. Tadao, I love it.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, same.
I think I've played it a bit too much now.
I think I have to give you the same here, but it's the only song that's like quite long, so I think it works well as an introduction. For everyone that's just joined us, thank you so much for joining us. We should be getting started relatively soon. We're just waiting for a few more people to join the call. And then we're going to kick right off. So we're just going to wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. For all of the groups presenting, if you can just get your presentations ready and we will kick off ASAP. Hey, Rory. Saw that thing so beautiful. She just hit my heart. Full force, she got me like. I be like, why you so fine? Gotta make you mine. So hard to find. Baby, like, oh, How'd you do the thing? Way did you do it and she didn't show nothing. She be walking around so confident, so heaven sent. I think she was meant to knock the daylight. Like, girl, you're so fine. Oh, 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 oh. Girl, you rockin' like, baby, so fine. Miss Baby, girl, you knockin' dead. She was so sublime, super fine. She was never lying, strutting in the hills or her slides. Either way, eyes on her every single day, week, year. Everyone wondering how she does it with no fear. All that
If you guys want to go ahead and like maybe type your names in the chat to introduce yourselves and where you're from. So, you know, hi, my name's Tyra and I'm from YSYS. If you just write that in the chat, just so that we can all get to know each other as we get going. And we'll just wait one more minute and then we're going to kick off. Okay, so yeah, guys, if you just write your name in the chat, where you're from. We've got here, for example, we've got Deborah here from YSYS. Just so we can get to know each other before we begin the presentation. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I actually realized you probably couldn't hear me speaking over the music. Really great to see so many people in the chat. If you hear meowing in the background, that is my cat Namiko. Amazing, cool. So let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome everybody to today's graduation ceremony for the Future Software Developer Now cohort of 2021. Today we are here to celebrate the achievement of 35 young people from London. And we've done this in partnership with Create Jobs and the Mayor of London. So yeah, welcome everybody to today's presentations. Next slide, please, Liz. So we've got a few words from our funders before we begin. So we're going to go ahead and play this video and then go from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Pei Chin and I'm the Program Manager for the Men's Digital Talent Program at the Greater London Authority. I'm very, very pleased to be funding your training opportunity delivered by Create Jobs at A New Direction and YSYS, who have been doing such a fantastic job supporting young people during COVID-19. I would like to congratulate you for completing your intensive training program. Well done. You have shown your resilience, drive, and motivation to learn new skills, meet new people, and to thrive in spite of the challenging times that we're all in. And I hope that you will continue on this lifelong learning journey and make full use of the Digital Jobs and Opportunities platform. This is a great opportunity to showcase your portfolio, get mentoring support, and to make contacts in the industry. At City Hall, we remain committed to supporting you. Digital skills will continue to be a key priority in our recovery and in our mission to create a more equitable and inclusive future. I look forward to hearing your pitches and viewing your incredible work, and a massive thank you to everyone participating today.
Wow. Thank you so much to Pei Chin for that wonderful video. So just a little bit about us before we begin. We are YSYS, which stands for Your Startup, Your Story. And we are a community for founders, developers, creatives, innovators, and more on a mission to make a difference in technology. So for more information about YSYS, please go to thisisysys.com, where you'll be able to hear loads about the things that we do, including the 2 programs that we run, which are Founders Door, which is targeted to founders, people that are trying to launch their own startups, and Talent Door, which is looked after by myself in support of diverse talent. And we just help people to kind of really get a foot in technology. Another thing I'd like to highlight is we've just posted our impact report for 2020. So take a look over at our website at thisisysys.com to have a look at that and just hear a little bit about the impact that we have made so far on our journey. So just a little bit about this program. This was a 6-week program targeted at young budding software developers. And it was specifically for 18 to 24-year-olds from diverse backgrounds based in London, just because our funders, the Mayor of London, Stride, and Create Jobs also have highlighted that the pandemic has been a bit of a difficult time for this particular demographic. And so we wanted to provide a training program to kind of provide people with a bit of a virtual work experience and help them to pursue careers in technology. So we're proud to have partnered with Create Jobs, the Mayor of London, to put together this program and connect these 35 young people with industry leaders such as IDN, 10X, as well as employability coaches and a community of young techies. We've had briefs from both Brandwatch and Hero, which have provided the young people with an actual physical activity, which they'll be able to kind of talk about in interviews and hopefully, gain those real life experiences that they need to be able to get their first jobs. Next slide, please, Liz. So this is actually the second program that we've run in partnership with Create Jobs and the Mayor of London. And the first program that we ran was Creativity Works Digital Product Design. And so we just wanted to share a few words from an alumni from the previous program, just hopefully to inspire the young people that will be graduating today. So I'd like to hand it over to Kelvin. Kelvin, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Just making sure everyone can hear me. Just thumbs up, quick. Yeah. Cool, fantastic. So hi, like it was said by Tyra, I was on the previous cohort doing digital product design, and for me, it was a very, very good experience. Like you guys, I started off literally just signing up and really putting myself in a position where I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn something new. I'm gonna try and apply myself and actually just give my time to this. And honestly, it's probably been one of the best decisions I've made, especially in a time like this where you have a lot of free time and you kind of have to pick and choose what you're going to dedicate your time to. Like you guys, workshops, being able to network with different people and just being able to gain the skills necessary to go down a career path was absolutely vital and essential to me being in the position that I am now. And that from this, it took one conversation, literally one, and it just sparked a cascade of different things to allow me to actually go from someone that's just done this program to somebody actually in the industry, which is absolutely crazy for me, especially coming from the background that I was in. It is slightly different. It wasn't exactly the same, but I was able to learn so much more and put myself almost in the shop window per se. It literally did take one conversation, and it was through just being able to sell yourself in a way which is like, I know where I am, be able to say, this is where I am right now, this is what I can bring to the table, and hopefully you can see that I'm putting myself in this position so that you could also get something from me and I can get something from you. And in the end, it became a whole new scenario where I'm now employed full-time with one of the companies that were partnering in the previous program. And to be honest, I've been there 3 weeks, very fresh, very new. But honestly, it's a different experience, and I can guarantee that I wouldn't have been in this position without the program from before. So I guess I want to encourage everyone to just carry on the path that you're on right now, because essentially you guys put yourself out there to actually say, do you know what, I'm going to improve myself and get myself into a position that will allow me to get employed, and it is 110% possible. And I guess the biggest thing I would say is important is networking. On top of the skills that you get to meet people, not only people in industry, but also your peers, because you never know who you could be working with. You could be working with the next big thing, and it could be a startup, it could be an established company. Trust me, if you put yourself out there to be wanted and to be known, something will come of it. So please, guys, well done. Like, honestly, well done, because I've been through it myself. I went through weeks of just being like, yep, okay, I'm waking up to do this thing. Hopefully I'll reap the benefits of it. And I can honestly say I have. So congratulations to every single one of you. I know it's not easy. I've been through it, but you've done exceptionally well, and take what you've got and just run with it. Trust me, it's more than possible. It's more than possible. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna do a little clap on here, Calvin. That was amazing. Honestly, I'm like such an emotional person. You make me cry, but we're so proud of you here, and to work with you and to see you so active in like the last program. I'm so glad to see your journey and how quickly your journey even started, and we're so excited to see where you go from this. So a big thank you for coming on here and chatting to this cohort as well.
No problem. I will stick around for a little bit.
Yes, please do.
Curious to see what you guys are working on. But yeah, thank you so much. And well done, everyone. Like, well done, honestly. Great.
Which then takes us to this cohort, which I think I'll probably say a few words as well as Tyra, but we've also this is our first kind of Zoom selfie, because, you always got to get a selfie, it didn't happen. But no, it's been an amazing 6 weeks working with all of you guys, getting to know you guys and seeing you guys kind of learn so much over the last 6 weeks, taking that kind of initiative to also go and learn things that you don't know, working as part of teams, and also completing 2 briefs, which is definitely something like the first time I think we've done that. And just to be able to see the energy, and as well as the questions that you guys ask, making sure that every kind of session, you guys are super involved. And so from myself, and I'm sure Tyra will echo it, we're super proud of what you guys have been able to create on both briefs, and just as, I guess, a cohort and as different as individuals as well. So yeah, super proud of you. Maybe Tyra, I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, so the energy, the commitment and the enthusiasm from this cohort has been amazing, and it's been a real pleasure to be a part of each and every one of your journeys so far. What a lot of people don't know is at the beginning of this program, everyone came from sort of different backgrounds. So some people may have had degrees in computer science, some people are self-taught, some people were maybe transitioning from a different career into computer science or software development because of the pandemic. And the skills that were learned so quickly just over 6 weeks, I'm so impressed by. And if perhaps people didn't know things, they're members of the cohort that really took a lead and were able to support their fellow cohort members. And it's just been really nice to see, a real breath of fresh air. And I just really wish every single one of you the best of luck in whatever you go ahead and do after this program. So we are going to start the presentation soon. I will just say a couple of words about that. So what's going to happen is each of the groups, so the way we did this is we split the cohort into 6 different groups. And in those groups, they were asked to complete a brief by Brandwatch. And
during that brief, they took on new skills, learned new things, worked together collaboratively, and came up with some really great solutions. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow each team to present, and then we're going to just pause a little while for some questions at the end of each presentation. So as you watch these presentations, please feel free to write down any questions that you might have for that group, and feel free to ask them at the end of each of their presentations. So
yeah,
you're going to go ahead and kick things off. Liz, which group is first?
Yeah, so we've got George's group. So give you guys a couple seconds if you can share your screen of your presentation. If you're having any issues sharing your screen, please obviously send me your link and I will share the screen for you. But is George's group here?
Yep, we are.
Oh, you might want to put your volume up just a little bit. I think it's a bit low.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Give it a couple of minutes. Here will be sharing their screen.
I will do that.
Cool, cool. Oh, loving the hair, by the way.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Chidera, and I am sort of the team leader for Team Reactive. And we're going to sort of talk you through what we've been up to for the past 2 weeks, really, on the project we worked on. So we essentially worked on a web application, and we've coined this amazing name called AP Ice and Fire. And here's the team. So I'm Chidera, the team leader. I'm also a UCL graduate where I studied biomedical sciences and also an aspiring software engineer. So I've had sort of varied experiences in tech, mostly self-taught. I've completed a couple of courses, like a Python course in Career First Girls, and of course this WISE program. And you're gonna hear from the rest of our team members. So Hayden.
Hi, I'm Hayden. I'm a computer science undergrad at the University of Bath. I came from studying computer science for GCSE and A-level, and yeah, over to Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm also an aspiring software engineer and also an aspiring tech journalist on my blog, which focuses on cryptocurrency and fintech.
Hello, I'm Cindas, and I'm a first year computer science student at Goldsmiths.
Perfect. Perfect. Right. So in terms of the kind of, I guess, the goal for this project, what we were tasked with was essentially to build a Game of Thrones web application. And we had sort of two main objectives. So the first one was to kind of build an app that allows users to search and view a list of characters, houses, or books from Game of Thrones. And secondly, part of that entire project involved being able to fetch data using a Game of Thrones API. And in terms of the approach we took, I've sort of termed this as we took an agile-ish approach. So first of all, planning was very important. So I think, as team leader, I kind of took responsibility in terms of planning and sort of managing the entire team and the project. So our first kind of key activity was to plan a project. So we essentially took the project brief and broke them down into sort of smaller task, which I then delegated to different team members. We prioritized our task in terms of like what was kind of the high, middle / low priority. We assigned deadlines for each of those tasks. And then in terms of the day-to-day management of the project, I sort of created a Kanban board on Trello. Now this was very useful in kind of helping us keep track of what was happening, just general kind of workflow management. So that was kind of all to do with the planning. Then we went on to design and sort of develop our kind of project. Now this was sort of the hardcore programming and coding aspect of things. Now this probably took the largest chunk of our time. And also it was very important that we kind of tested our app. So the way the app was structured is we had different team members working on different components of the app. And so the testing stage is very important for us to kind of put everything together to see how the app works kind of functionally as a whole. And then finally, we got some kind of formal feedback from the Brandwatch team, and we sort of had a chance to implement some of that feedback and kind of review the entire process and make some improvements to our app. And in terms of just some other kind of key activities, so like I mentioned, project planning on Excel, project management using Trello. It was very important sort of that we had kind of seamless communication as a team. So I made sure that I organized sort of regular cadence meetings on Google Meet, just kind of get up to speed with everyone and to offer help to other team members, potentially, if that was necessary. Majority of our collaboration happened on GitHub and on Slack as well. And of course, I also implemented kind of a feedback process. So this part of the project was actually like the second half of the entire program. So I sort of created a feedback form for team members just to give feedback to kind of how we worked as a team, things we could improve on, etc., and then implemented that for this particular project. I also created a Gantt chart to kind of mapping out our delivery timeline in terms of like what's happening at each stage of the process. So as I said, we had a preparation kind of to get up to speed with React. We did the planning, the kind of development aspect, which is kind of the main coding, the testing, and then finally the improvements sort of after the kind of initial submission. I'm now going to hand over to Hayden, who is going to talk you through kind of a summary of kind of the skills.
Yeah, thank you, Chidera. So along the way, we have definitely picked up a lot of different skills since we all came from different backgrounds with different levels of experience. So some examples of the technical skills we acquired include programming skills, having to learn JavaScript as a programming language and integrating the React framework, as well as using design libraries and components within that. In this brief, we used Axiom, which was provided by Brandwatch. We also learned how to collaborate on our code using GitHub, as well as our communication channels. We also got familiar using the command line to execute commands and enhance our development workflow, which made the process a lot more seamless. And some of the soft skills we developed as a team and working together include collaboration and team working skills, hearing other people's inputs and working together on one problem. Project management as well, in terms of setting goals and sticking to timelines, and also keeping good communication, whether that's about sorting meetings or talking about what we're currently working on. So over to Catherine to talk about some of the issues we faced.
Yes, so we face a variety of different challenges, both technical and team-based challenges. So for example, technically, using the Brandwatch library for the first time, we encountered a few challenges there and issues with documentation. So we then decided to take an alternative approach and use our own custom CSS grid. We also had a few slight data flow difficulties with passing the right props to the right states, and also in terms of refactoring our code. For example, instead of using a very long nested if statement, we were going to use key value pairs instead, and which should also increase the performance of our overall project. And in terms of team, we had a bit of a loss of human resources there, so reallocating tasks and so on, which we responded very quickly to, and we kept in contact constantly via Slack and via very regular Google Meets organised by Chidera, which really helped us to keep aligned throughout the project. And we also were able to overcome our knowledge and skills gaps by doing extra courses in React on YouTube and looking into online resources to improve our learning further. Great. So
right, so now I'm going to kind of run you through a very quick demo of our app. First of all, we'll just go through the functionalities. So we've essentially designed a sort of very beautiful web application, and it's sort of the go-to web app for all things Game of Thrones, really. And we've gone for kind of a very seamless UX design concept. It's sort of including drop-down filters, responsive sidebars, and just kind of really accessible visuals. And it's, you know, it's free for now. So here is our app. So this is sort of the landing page, I guess, yeah, the landing page for our web application. So on the sidebar here, like I said, we've got like a very sort of drop-down filters where you can filter different categories and things, and you can select sort of how much data you want to be displayed on the feed. And we have, like I said, very accessible visuals. So for example, these are a list of characters, the first 25 characters, for example. You'd have sort of the character name, the gender, what culture they're from, potentially all the names that they have in Game of Thrones. Someone like myself who's never actually seen Game of Thrones, we can actually go for a spoiler-free search, you know, just to know what happens to the characters themselves. So that's just kind of like an added bonus that we've included here. You can also filter in terms of if they're dead or alive potentially. And then we also have sort of like a toggle bit here as well, so quite responsive as well. And in this bit here, you can actually search for a specific character, specific book, specific house, for example. So I only know one character because I've never watched the show. So we'll go for that. And then, you know, you can search in for a specific person, for example, in the search bar. And in terms of, I guess, error catching, for example, so if I select houses here and I search for a character here, that's not going to work because obviously you select the right filters here as well. So that's just some of the things happening in the back end as well. So I am now going to hand over to Cinders, who would kind of talk you through just sort of final reflections and, you know, things we could do potentially to improve in future.
So looking back at our project, there are a few practices that we would have implemented from the start to ease the overall process. So as we all know, due to the limited time we had to complete our project, it would have been better for us to have asked for help sooner, as opposed to spending much of our time at the start of the project trying to problem solve and come up with alternative ways to resolve our issues by ourselves. Additionally, we would have experimented and started to find our own solutions from the start and much earlier on when we experienced like several issues with Axiom, which also ultimately cost us quite some time. So with that, I'll pass it back to Chidera.
Thank you, Cinders. I just want to say I'm just really proud of sort of the work we produced and just my team, and we're sort of happy to take any questions now.
Thank you, Chidera, and to the whole team Reactive. Yeah, we'd definitely love to open the floor to any questions from the audience.
Not really a question, but I just wanted to say well done to you all. Good team. Looks really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
I think I have a question. I guess what's one thing that you guys learned that you'd say has become quite valuable to you now?
I guess I'll go first. I think for me, I've split into technical and softer elements. So I think in the technical side of things, I'm sort of, in my opinion, very proficient with GitHub and command lines, which is something that I just didn't have coming into this program. And so, you know, I'm kind of an aspiring software engineer. So I know that something that's going to be just incredibly useful in kind of the day-to-day work and things of that sort. And I guess from a softer skills perspective, I think being able to kind of effectively and successfully manage a team of people that are looking for, you know, different skills levels and skills gap and just different backgrounds. I think that was quite an interesting experience for me personally. So yeah, I think there's a few things that I think are cool.
I love that. That's amazing.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, I was just going to say, I really understood the importance of collaboration because, for example, I had a bit of code that I was unsure about. I pushed to my branch. Hayden was able to pull it and make improvements and push back. So we were able to collaborate and really achieve something great for our app by sharing through GitHub. So it was definitely a great experience there.
Amazing. Did anyone else have any, I guess, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with both what Chidera and Catherine said. With the technical knowledge that I developed along this course, I was completely new to JavaScript and React, so and APIs is it was very new to me and GitHub, but we got there in the end and we started really integrating it, especially towards the end. So it was a really nice journey of learning all those technologies. It was great.
Yeah, and I would have to reiterate what my team members said, the soft skills and the technical skills that we've gained with both projects have been really good.
Amazing. Are there any questions from the audience that we can maybe open up to? And yeah, Rob saying congrats on getting up to speed with all the tech and delivering in such a short time frame.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, if there's no questions, thank you so much to Team Reactive. And in that, the next people up is James's group. Who will be sharing their screen?
I'll be sharing the screen for this presentation.
Awesome, Luke.
Bear with me one moment.
No worries. Yeah, we've got in the comments about how great of a presentation it was.
Can everyone see that?
Yes. So we'll hand it to Team London.
So hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us for the graduation. We are Team London, probably the most inspiring team name you're going to hear today. And this is a presentation of Ice and Fire. My name is Luke McMahon and I got a 2-1 on my game design degree. I was the team leader for this project and I predominantly took on the productive role of back-end developer.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Shugbamu. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Manchester and currently self-teaching. learning how to code. So I was the assistant team leader in Team London, and I mainly focused on the front end development.
Hi everyone, my name is Benjamin Ayer, and I graduated from Middlesex University with a 2-1 in computer science in 2019, and I taught myself some programming languages. I also worked on the back end of the project.
Hi, my name is David German, and my role is working on the backend of backend part of our project. I'm trying to become a software developer, and I was inspired to start programming by game development and the idea of creating new and original software. After passing my computer science GCSEs, I went on to college to learn more about programming, but unfortunately I had to drop out, but I stayed determined and joined this program as soon as I was able to get back into coding.
Hi everyone, I'm Farida and I'm a final year undergraduate studying social sciences. I was taking on the role of a UX UI designer, and I was mainly focused on the front end. So let's get started. And so I'm just going to run through the brief quickly. We were asked to make a Game of Thrones web application using an API of Ice and Fire and React. The goals were to write use state hooks in app.js to fetch data from the Game of Thrones API, and to create 3 subcomponents, a sidebar, a feed, and a header. So in terms of the timeline and action plan, we had 2 weeks to build the app. So we adopted an agile way of working using a Scrum framework because it had to be completed in a fairly short time. There were daily meetings that were organized via Slack and Google Meet. We were assigned roles during an initial meeting, and then we broke up into sub-teams that focused on the front end and the back end. So for example, me and Mary were working on the front end together. We then, towards week 2, the lines were quite blurred. So from both front end and back end, like we were helping each other out. We were constantly testing the app and looking for bugs and finding ways to fix them. So on to Luke.
Thank you, Farida. So I'll quickly go over the method that we used and that we set out in our approach to this project. We used agile methodology because, as Farida mentioned, we had not much time. We only had 2 weeks for this project. And I'm sure everyone's aware of what agile is. But we basically adopted it so that we could meet up very regularly, keep in contact with each other, be aware of where everyone is, and we could adapt to the situation as it developed because it was a very short-term project. Trello helped a lot with this because we were able to deconstruct and allocate tasks to each other and be able to be aware of where everyone was at and how the progress was across the board. We also prioritized basic functionality over the desired outcomes. Obviously, we did plan to include stretch goals, but we were focusing directly on having the program work the best it could from the bottom up. We also frequently updated the GitHub repo to make sure everyone was aware of where we were at and we could all be on the same page or different pages as it works. And weekly mentoring meetings with our mentor, James Armand, were extremely useful to help overcome certain roadblocks and to get advice for the week ahead. In reality with this project, we did run into a lot of issues. A lot of us have come from backgrounds with different parts of experience, but all the tools and languages that we had to use for this project and the previous project were quite new to us, and the time we had to learn these tools and languages was quite short. So we 100% underestimated the time we would need to do certain things. From that, we really learned a lot about the importance and value of research and planning and the execution that follows that. As I mentioned, we ran into quite a few roadblocks, and this drilled into us the importance of perseverance and resilience in being a software programmer and developer, because you're going to run into problems every day. It's just the nature of programming. And to learn from those setbacks is what makes you a great programmer. And the steep learning curve that we had in taking on this project, we will try to overcome that in the future by working in a team and in pairs as much as possible, as we did on this project, to deliver the best we can and to grasp new concepts quickly. So I'm going to quickly give a brief showcase of our project. So this is our app, an app of Ice and Fire. Here we've got all the names of the houses, and you can select between the 3 different categories. We've got little bits of metadata with emoticons to show the house words and the region that they're in. Then we also have the characters, and some of the characters that have names, but they'll all have aliases and the gender as well. And then for the books, the metadata includes the author or authors for this one here, and the publishing house. And now I'll hand over to David.
What would we have done differently? If we could start again, we would be taking more time to understand how APIs work by using different APIs outside of the project that we were doing at the time. We will also spend more time learning about JavaScript, HTML, React, and Yarn overall. Another thing we would do would be to learn how to use the .map method for use with APIs a lot earlier, because we struggled to understand it, and having more time would have been more beneficial for the final projects. We also have been working in pairs, but we feel like we didn't spend as much time on that as we should have. And the last point is that we would have started learning how to get different files in VS Code to communicate with each other, so that all the code wasn't in one file, much earlier than we have, as we really struggled to understand it later on, and it set us back by a couple of days when doing the second project. Okay, Mari?
Thank you, David. So in terms of the skills that we've gained from this program, we gained a range of technical skills, such as learning how to code in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Both of the projects that we were given by Hero and Brandwatch were to be completed using React. So we were able to really explore a new JavaScript library. And in terms of the tools that we've applied to this project, we set up new Git repos onto GitHub, and then set up our own branches so that we could easily push our updates into the repo, and then pull whenever we needed to work on each other's code. In terms of the technical skills, we all had to learn how to retrieve data from an API. And we also had to really focus on writing clean code, not just so that the app could actually work, but so that it would be easier for other team members to read the code and work with it. So in terms of the soft skills that we've picked up on the journey, in terms of like time management, we really had to learn how to prioritize and manage our time well in terms of the work we did, and even when we set meetings, so that they were very productive. That included planning and scheduling meetings and then work time, both in teams and separately. In terms of leadership, I would say that we took time to really understand the responsibility that comes with supervising other people, and then breaking down ideas in a way that is easily communicated to other people, so that they understand and everyone's on the same page. And there's a quote I took from Abedesio Sunshade that says, you don't manage teams, you manage individuals. And I think why that's really important is because people essentially have different needs. They have different ways they want to be communicated to, and they also have different ways that they want to be supported. It was really important to understand that, because in order to be a productive team and deliver results, it's important to really build trust, get to know how your teammates work, and getting to know them as well. So we've learned so much in the last 6 weeks. So we just want to say thank you to Liz and Tyra for putting this program together. Thank you, James Almond, for the time that you've taken to mentor us every single week, and to every individual and every company that's hosted meetings and taken the time to really invest in us and pour your knowledge and expertise. And thank you to the audience for listening. We're free to take any questions now.
Amazing. Thank you guys. That was an amazing presentation and a big well done to you guys. We're so proud of what you guys came up with, especially with the time. And I'm always a sucker for a GIF as well too. Are there any questions from the audience?
I've just written into the chat, out of all the skills, technical and non-technical, are there any skills that you will be expanding on even after the program that you didn't know before?
I would say, I'll start. I think both, a bit of both definitely goes a long way. With technical skills, the more you understand, the less stressed you are, and the more you're able to achieve more in a shorter amount of time. But even with that, a softer skill was really taking the time to be able to explain to other people and break down what you know, so that other people are able to learn from you in a way that they can then take that information and apply it as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I would definitely take the skills we learned in terms of how to collaborate in a remote environment, especially for tech and software using GitHub. And I'm definitely going to continue working with JavaScript and React and try and create some of my own apps using APIs as well.
Yeah, similarly, I think there's a lot of soft skills that we've been working on in this project, which can be used like in the future with any kind of job that we're having. But I'm also really interested to learn more about React. It's been really fun working on this project. Yeah, and I'd like to continue that.
Amazing. Was there another answer or was that everyone? I think it was.
I think I'd like to continue expand on my skills on how to work in a team, because the number one skill employers these days look for is teamwork and collaboration skills.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, guys. With that said, then, if there's no questions, of course, you guys can always add any questions in the chat later. If Joyce's team is ready to present, he'll be sharing their screen.
Yeah, that would be me.
Amazing.
Shall I go for it?
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. Are we good to go? Yeah, okay. Hi all, welcome to our presentation. We are the Coding Geeks. Excuse the name, we decided that on the first week. And yeah, this is our web application and app of Ice and Fire. So a little intro about myself. My team members will say some stuff later on. My role was project manager. I have sort of a background sort of in mechanical and manufacturing engineering from the University of Warwick. So this is quite different to that. I started my coding journey sort of around May last year, mainly with mobile development using the Flutter framework. But yeah, since then I've picked up 7 languages and this has helped me enhance those skills, and I've used systems in the past like Firebase too.
Hi, my name's Kevin. I was the main front and back end engineer. I graduated with a computer science degree and I specialize in Java, C#, CSS styling, Android Studio, and Unity.
Hi, my name is Medina. My role is quality assurance and I'm graduating from Queen Mary University. I specialize in styling and manipulating elements.
Hello, my name is Stephen Okosa. I am a front-end web engineer. I studied website development since I started learning in my GCSEs. Then I carried it on to my A-levels, and then I carried it on to university. And I graduated from university in 2019. I graduated from SAE Institute London. And my specialties are in content layout, usability, and styling, which are normally kinds of things that you associate with front-end developer roles anyway. So that's what I do.
Hi guys, my name is Bradley. I was the UI UX designer for this project. I studied business IT at Southbank and I specialize in Figma and Adobe XD design.
So our task was to build a Game of Thrones web application which will allow users to view a list of characters, houses, obols using the Ice Empire API. And we had 3 goals during this task. One of those was to fetch data from the API itself. The second was to create 3 subcomponents of app.js, one for the sidebar, one for the feed, and one for the header each. And another was to use state hooks in app.js, which will pass down state setters to relevant components. We also had 5 stretch goals during this task. One of those was to add a drop-down filter to the sidebar. The second was to have 3 subcomponents for the feed which show metadata. The third would be to add the search bar to the header. The fourth was to use an external styling library to display the images, like Google Material UI. And the fifth was to add additional controls to the sidebar. On to Bradley, he will explain the plan.
So with our plan, we did have quite a few time constraints. So we had to just make sure we planned each stage of our process, just so that we had enough time to complete everything to a good standard. So our main resources that we used were Google Hangouts, Slack, Figma, and GitHub. Google Hangouts and Slack were used for communication. GitHub was used for version control and the management of our code, and Figma was for all our designs. So if we go on to the next slide, you can see on the left, we have a desktop version of our design, and on the right, we have the mobile version, which we wanted to use media queries to kind of create a mobile version, which Josh will expand on later on. If we go on to the next slide, this is our Gantt chart. So we had 4 main sections of our project, which was UX, UI, the feed, the sidebar, and the header. And Medina will talk about all our skills learnt on the project.
So these are all the skills that we learned, such as CSS, GitHub, and JavaScript. So manipulating and styling elements using CSS. Manipulating involves how elements lay out on the page. And through JavaScript, we learned how to make both client-side and server-side web pages interactive. And with GitHub, we learned pushing, pulling, and merging branches. And Josh will explain the next part.
Brilliant. Yeah, so in general, we did have an agile approach to the project where we would do some work, sort of push into the dev branch, and then have a discussion, make sure everything's okay in that respect as well. Our method towards styling, we use sort of the conventional styling method, just regular CSS files. We actually included pagination as well a little bit later on in our project, as seen in the Gantt chart. It did say we should use radio buttons, but Bradley, the UX designer, decided it would be better to have a button that was just had a selected state, and that was also managed alongside other things. Well, all the state in our app was managed using useState and useEffect hooks. We exported the API function from an external one as well, just to keep our code very clean. We split up all the things on our web page sort of into components. And this also allowed for an easier sort of debugging process, testing process. And in that as well, we decided to have ternary operators to decide what CSS we wanted to apply to each of these components as well. Later on, you will see in our live demo that we use switch statements to show different sort of displays, whether it was the characters or the books page. So that was used as it would be better in terms of debugging if our statements might be a bit messy. And in the mobile view, we had to do some adaptations to our search bar as well. Brandwatch did give us some feedback, which was very useful. Not all of it was entirely from them. We actually looked at some other groups and they incorporated pagination. So that was something we decided to incorporate a bit later on. That was a bit niggly, but we got there in the end. The media queries for the mobile view, we got that to work to a very good standard as well. They also added that the way we were passing parameters down was a bit inefficient, and we could take advantage of use hooks, use effect hook in that respect. Yeah, over to Kevin.
Thank you. So we also cleaned up a lot of our CSS, as there was a lot of unused classes that we had, and there was, due to how we used use styles inside JSX files, there was a lot of classes that we didn't need. And we also changed our error message. So we went from a localhost error message to a snack bar style alert, as this provided a more pleasing display and a less annoying pop-up. So if we like to go to a live demo now first.
Okay. Just to make sure, can you see this as well? Is that all good? Yeah. Okay, I'm assuming you can see it. So on the right, we have our sort of our selector. On the left, we have the displayed item. And we chose this and obviously dropped down to see some more stuff as well. We chose this as it was sort of a nice way for the users to see all of the searches that they had. We also have the sidebar that could be retracted and expanded, and everything else was dynamic using Flex as well. Going into character, we can obviously search for any character in Game of Thrones, such as Jon Snow, and it will come up with all of their information as well. We did some cool stuff with the filters as well, which was you can choose between alive and dead, sort of male or female, and a wider range of cultures here. So it's a random one, and we can actually just pluck them out as well by just clicking them, which was really cool. We can also change the filter size down here to 50, and obviously that gives us way more. With pagination working as well. So let's go back to 10. Going to books now, very similar layout to the houses as well. You can select one and you can obviously see some more things like that too. Yeah, I think that's all from here. Oh, actually, we did have the mobile view as well that we could show, which did look like this. So books had just sort of regular scrolling down. Again, everything was working likewise on the web. With houses too, you can change the amount that we're showing as well. Again, very simple, but it does the job. And then our pop-out search bar does this nice overlay feature. So yeah, back to Kevin.
Thank you. So due to time constraints of the brief, there was a lot of things that we wanted to do and which we couldn't. So we wanted to refactor a lot of our code just due to how we had a lot of old code and unnecessary comments that were left behind and a lot of stuff that were just inactive. We also wanted to use use components of both mobile and web layout, as this allowed us to not create separate components of both, which could take up a lot of space as well. Another thing we wanted to work on was use reducer, as it allowed for better state management. So all the states of the application can be dispatched to the relevant parts, such as the book cards, character cards, and the house cards. Through more research, we could have also looked into more UI and UX design. So looking for more free icons and components that we could have changed and added. One of them was Axiom, which is Brandwatch's inbuilt design platform. We thought using this would be a lot better in the end, just due to ease of implementation and just how it provided a more professional feel. Instead, we decided to use Google's Materials UI just due to how it was something that we were more comfortable with due to us using it for the first brief. And we'll also look more into Sass and CSS modules. This would allow us to have the CSS all live in one place, and then we could just call it and apply it to certain components that we wanted. And finally, we'd also look into adding more filters, just due to how earlier, as you saw, for the use of radio buttons on the culture, we could only search by one culture and not by multiple. But overall, I feel we're quite comfortable with the way it turned out. As you saw, it was quite similar to our design, initial design that Brady made, so we're quite happy with the way it turned out. We would also like to give a big thank you to everyone that's given talks on this program and allowed us to show what we can do and improve our skills and ourselves along the way. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Wow, thank you so much, guys. That was an amazing presentation and an amazing demo as well. So thank you guys for that. Yeah, we want to open up to the audience if anyone had any questions as well. I guess maybe I can ask, like, what was one thing that, I guess, what was something that you really enjoyed? Like, what was something that you didn't think that you'd enjoy, that you ended up really enjoying?
I can take this one. I don't know. I think switching, sort of having a responsive layout so that it would be accessible for mobile, it seemed a bit strenuous because we strictly designed for web, and then when it came to time to like try and change some of the components we had, it was like giving us hell. So we ended up even making new components and stuff. It was a bit at the start, but at the end it was so satisfying to see it all work and hook up, and yeah, all of the guys and the girls and everyone was so happy. So yeah, brilliant stuff.
Amazing, I love that. Anyone else? Oh, sorry, I think Jadira, do you have a question?
Yeah, no, not a question, just more of a thought, really. Just yeah, really impressive, guys. I really liked the mobile side of things, and I like the fact that you guys sort of delegated specific roles to team members, like titled roles, like the UX designer and the quality assurance and things like that. So yeah, really, really cool. Well done.
And
love that. I think everyone can echo that it was an amazing presentation and great work from you all. So if there's no other questions, that will take us to Michelle's group, I believe. Wait, oh, yeah. Who will be presenting from this group?
I'll be presenting.
Awesome.
So just 1 second. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, thanks. So my name's Lionel. I am a chemical engineering graduate and my main language is Python, and second I would say is JavaScript.
Good afternoon. My name is Bamidele Aniforche, and I come from a psychology background, as that's what I studied in university. But I'm best at HTML and Python.
Hi there. My name's Ijaz Driscoll. I'm a psychology graduate, and I'm currently learning IT and mechanics. And my primary code language is Python, JavaScript. No, not JavaScript. HTML and CSS.
Hi, my name's Corinna. I studied computer science at uni, which exposed me to so many languages, but my two favorites were Java and Python. I've been very keen to expand my skill set ever since, which is why I joined this course.
Hi, my name is Sarah Al-Hadas. So I study international relations and English. I've been learning HTML and CSS on my own, and I joined the program to learn more valuable skills to work as a software developer.
All right, so the introduction to our team. So when we first met, we had two key challenges. The first challenge was language fluency. So the projects required understanding of JavaScript, I'm sure you all know, and the second challenge was using React as an environment. But only one member of our team had experience in both. So from the outset, we did something quite unorthodox. We all pursued the projects individually, as not to accentuate the difficulty of learning a new language and environment. I'm proud to say that in this we succeeded. 3 members of our team created functioning weather apps, and Lionel went on to create our impressive Fire and Ice app, completely alone. I believe the attitude of OVO was aligned with the famous English term gung-ho, which means unthinkingly enthusiastic and eager, especially when taking part in warfare. For most of us, these projects were all-out war.
So the last brief we had to do consists of building a game web app based on the character of Game of Thrones using React and JavaScript. So the app allows the user to view the list of all the character, houses, and books. So we had to create also 3 subcomponents, a sidebar, a feed, and a header that displays the type is selected.
So 4 out of 5 of our team members had to learn JavaScript and React from scratch. So a lot of time was spent becoming more familiar with the language and syntax. We watched lots of YouTube tutorials which helped us learn the language much quicker. And also we were able to discuss problems we were having in our Slack chat and during meetings. Our first brief was set by Hero to develop a weather app using the Open Weather API. And we decided to approach it individually in order to help us learn and become more familiar with the language. So when we were given the second brief by Brandwatch to develop a Game of Thrones web app, we thought we would approach it collaboratively by choosing one component each. But since we were all at different levels with our experience, this proved to be much harder than expected, and instead resulted in us working on the project individually again. We did meet twice a week in addition to our sessions with our mentor, where we would share our progress and Lionel would help us debug our code or explain a concept we might have been struggling with. We also focused a lot of our time on learning how to use GitHub, so we could clone each other's repositories and look at each other's approaches. This also supported us in completing our own individual projects, because sometimes looking at other team members' approaches would just make that light bulb go off and in turn just help us progress.
As Corinne explained in the previous slide, we used GitHub, but we also used Visual Studio Code, JavaScript, React, and Trello. JavaScript and React was new to most members of our team, but overall, we enjoyed the experience and we all helped each other a lot.
So in solving the brief, my initial focus was on completing the core goals and providing a base structure. So this is what I would have done in this basic implementation commit. And I tried to complete this quite early on, as I hoped it would act as a guide for other team members that they could refer to whenever they got stuck. For this reason, I only managed state using use state hooks. And while I did incorporate some of the stretch goals at this point, I limited it to those that wouldn't overcomplicate the code. So it was using 3 subcomponents for the feed to show additional data, and using Axiom, which is an implementation of Brandwatch's design system. Then I went on to refactoring the code to use reducers and context. And I felt like this would be the right stretch goal to move on to next, as when I was to get onto the later ones, I felt this would require more complex state transitions of non-primitive data types that would be better accomplished through use reducer hooks and with state and dispatches passed down using context. And from that point, I would incrementally add new features in line with the stretch goals. So pagination, the search functionality, additional filters. And after receiving feedback from Brandwatch on the 8th, I also went back to reformat and restructure some of the code to implement some of these changes. Now I'll move on to a short demo of the app. So this is the app that's built. With the header component, you can see that I can hide filters and show filters. I can go to the sidebar and choose which data type I want to be displaying. And that will also change what is written in the search bar, just so the user knows which thing they could be searching for. So I can also search for a character and I'll have their card show up. I'm also able to change the amount of results per page. So if I change it now to 50, you can see I've got a long list of results. There's also pagination functionality added, so you can go from page to page, and you can also skip straight to the last page if that's what you want to do. There's also additional filters you can add, so I can filter this to just the female characters and maybe just the alive characters, and it will display just those results according to your filters. With houses, you can pick a region. Say if I went to the next region and I don't say extinct houses, it will show me the extinct houses, and if I switch to current, because there's no current houses, it will show that there's no results found. And with books, you can filter based on the release date. So if I go from the 1st of January 2005, I will only get results after that date. And obviously if I reset it, I can now see I can get dates from outside of that parameters. If I go back to the app, what would we have done differently? I think it would have been good to be able to experiment using the GraphQL API to fetch data. I feel this would have helped to solve the problem of overfetching, which was quite prevalent throughout the app from using the REST API. And while the GraphQL API that was linked to on the API site was quite old and hadn't been updated in quite a while, if it did not work, I would have been able to just create a new server where I could pass that data through. I also think it could have been good to allow users to query individual objects from their current feed results to display a modal of linked information. So what this would look like is, say if you had the character feed up, you'd be able to click on the button and it would show you the data for a book that they may have belonged to. And I'll go on to any questions.
Thank you so much, guys. I just want to start by saying, once again, really well done to Lionel, who actually wasn't just mentioned by his team, it was other teams that he was helping out as well. And, you know, I think it really goes to show that, you know, no man left behind, and he really kind of dedicated a lot of time to just helping people and upskilling them in those areas. So my question for the wider team is, if you could just maybe just let me know one thing that you learned from working together within your group, that'd be amazing.
Well, obviously JavaScript and React was one thing, but then I also think one thing I've always struggled with is kind of asking for help when I need it. And I remember in one of our meetings, I was just really like nervous to show them like my web app, and I was like, oh my gosh guys, like I really can't. But I remember Lionel and Ijaz were really like, no, it's fine, like we can help you, blah blah blah. Like, and I think just knowing that you can reach out for help, and it's not going to be like a judgmental thing that people are going to be like, oh my gosh, how do you not know this? And I think that was just really, that's just something I'm going to take away from this, I think.
I love that.
Yeah, I would double up with a Karinian and say the same thing. Yeah, you know, through the experience, I think it's like an ego adjustment, you know, because, you know, when you're self-taught, you're always expected to do it yourself. So when you're put in a team and you have to approach a project collaboratively, it pushes you to step outside of your comfort zone in terms of showing your weaknesses. And like with the second project, I was like completely totaled in comparison to the first project, and it was so hard to you know what I mean, to kind of like yield in a way, yield that. But it was a very supportive environment, and I've learned so much from my team, and also from the community in how to go about this.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm not sure if anyone else wanted to answer that question.
I wanted to ask a separate question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just that I like the sort of the API that you said you were going to include, that graph sort of API one. Could you like sort of explain how you would have implemented it as well, and exactly what it is potentially?
So a GraphQL API differs to a REST API in the sense that you are able to only get you're able to choose which data you'd actually bring back. So say with the current implementation, we make a data call off and we will get a bunch of various different metadata for each feed, and we're not going to use all of the information there. Like, not all the information that's brought up may be relevant for the app and may not be displayed on the results card. So with the GraphQL server, what you'd be able to do is just pick, I want the character's name, I want their aliases, and so on. And in doing such, you would just get that data. So it saves the user bandwidth and can improve the performance of the app. And what I would have used to implement it was, I likely would have used Apollo GraphQL which is something you can look up, and it just helps you to kind of structure how you'd implement your GraphQL server and also how you bring it to the client side on the front end and interpret that data and bring it into your app.
Yeah, okay, that sounds amazing. Thanks, Lionel. And also a thank you for like helping us out with the pagination as well. So yeah, that sounds really good.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, last thing, could you spell that P word in the chat? Thanks, if you can.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll send you a link to the site.
Cheers, appreciate that.
I love that. See, I love how, as Tara was saying, Lionel, we've just heard so much great things in terms of you just being such a team player, and that's amazing to see. If there isn't any other questions, we will go on to Rob's group. Who will be sharing their screen here?
I'm sharing for us. Give me 1 sec. Cool. Just yeah, compliments to Coding Geeks on their Google template. Great shout.
Love Team Biscuit.
1, 2, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Hi everyone, hope you're well. We're Team Biscuit and welcome to our presentation. A quick introduction of ourselves. I'm Claude, the UX UI designer. I joined the YSY software development program as I aspire to learn code, to develop my own designs into working applications.
Hi, I'm Roddy. I'm a chemical engineering graduate from UCL. I'm currently working towards becoming a UX designer myself, and I joined this program because I'm interested in front-end development.
Hi, I'm Adebayo. I joined the program. I'm a gap year student, and I joined the program because I aspired to become a more skillful software developer.
Hi, my name's Alex. I graduated with a physics degree and then kind of moved into languages and education. I joined the program because I want to kickstart a career in tech, and I hope to one day work on groundbreaking tech.
Hi, I'm Yannick. I actually have a history in civil engineering / construction, but after seeing how the world is changing, I started to take a look at what I could do from home, which brought up software engineering, and I hope to become a software engineer.
As you can see that we're the beginning of our careers, and individually we have different various of current skill sets. We concise of different types of biscuits, but as we grow into our tech career and learn and develop our skills, we aim to become full stack of biscuits, no pun intended.
The task was to code an application based on Game of Thrones that displayed its books, characters, and houses using an API of Ice and Fire. We needed to include a sidebar with buttons for the houses, characters, and books, the feed that displays the results, and the header to change the display type. There were also stretch goals like adding a search to filter the feed by name and adding pagination for the sidebar.
To help us plan and track our progression, we created a board on Notion where we wrote down a list of tasks needed to complete the Game of Thrones application. With advice from our mentor, Rob, we broke down our tasks into small achievable goals so we can track the progress with ease. We had experience working together with the weather application where we went by completing the front-end development first, then working on the back end of the task. We changed the plan with the Game of Thrones application and worked on completing a different subcomponents first, as we believe it's better to have a half-working application than having an application that doesn't work.
As for the skills that we've picked up during this project, the first obvious skill we gained is knowledge of React. We all came into this project with varying levels of coding knowledge, some more than others. But after completing this project, I can confidently say that we've all gained a better understanding of how React works. Another skill we've all gained, which I personally believe is the most important one, is how to use GitHub, especially when working on a group project. Our mentor Rob mentioned that GitHub is one of the most important skills for any software developer, and having made use of it throughout this project, we couldn't agree more. And last but not least, this project has given us a number of collaborative skills. Prior to this program, we all had experience working on different coding projects, but that was all on an individual basis, which doesn't really reflect the real working world. This project has given us a much better insight as to what it will be like to work with other software developers in a more collaborative environment.
In this project, there were some areas where we got stuck and saw room for improvement. One of which was using a single letter code variable, which makes it less readable. Changing it will obviously make it easier to read and more maintainable. Another benefit of it is that it allows anyone who reads it, or yeah, if we have like a second opinion, to look back at what we've done, and they could spot any errors that we've made. At the beginning of the project, we began by working on the code in separate repositories because for some reason, we weren't able to put all our code into one repo. But we later figured out our issues. However, there were some cases where Alex and Adelaide did the same task, which may have slowed us down, but thankfully not significantly. Additionally, if we worked on our timing or had a little bit more time to complete the project, we could have implemented different styling options for the web page for the user to play around with. The mock-up that you see on the screen here is an example of that, using the color scheme from the House of Stark.
Cool, thanks, Yannick. So yeah, our code was mostly following the skeleton that was set out by Brandwatch. So that was just using a series of React hooks to store the state of the app, and then passing them directly into a use effect function to kind of trigger re-renders as appropriate. And then we were passing the hooks and their updating functions into a series of components. As laid out in the brief, we've got a header component, a sidebar component, and a feed component. So if we jump into the app now, oh God, where is it? There it is. We can have a look. So here's our final app. As Yannick mentioned, we went with a kind of red and gold motif, which is themed after the Lannisters. So anyone who watches the TV show or read the books will know all about them. Our app is being hosted right now on Adelaide's GitHub. So at the end of our presentation, we'll send that into the chat and everyone can have a quick look and noodle around with it if you're interested. So as mentioned, I think like a lot of other teams, we've got a sidebar here, which contains a lot of the filtering options. So you can choose if you want to get books, houses, or characters back. We also have a results dropdown. For us, there was a lot of kind of iteration on this one, and actually I think probably still could make it a bit better. At first we had like a number input, and then we tried text input with a data list, which were both kind of nice because you could do custom results, but they were kind of a bit clunkier maybe in the implementation. And lastly, down here, we've got our pagination control, so you can tab through and kind of explore your data return that you get. Up here, we've got our header, which contains a button to collapse the sidebar, and also our search functionality, which I think has got probably where we put most of our time. So here we've got a couple features, like you can search by different parameters. So for example, if we're searching characters, first you can search by name, and you get, here we go, we get Jon Snow, or we could search maybe for all the female characters. One thing that I think we kind of came up with for this was born out of using the app. We found it was kind of awkward because the API has a really restrictive search. So you can see that if I search John, then nothing turns up. If I search Jon Snow, then we do actually get a result. So we implemented dynamic placeholders as a kind of UX decision, maybe if I zoom in, to try and smooth this out for the user. So for example, here, if I want to look for a name, it will give me like a suggested name, and same for gender or culture that you can search by. And these dynamic placeholders will update for the different kinds of search you can look for. So for example, if you want to search by a release date, it will give you the expected date format. We thought that was a nice feature to try and make the app more user-friendly. The last component we've got here is our feed. So this is just a grid of CSS cards. Here was kind of where I think running a bit shy on time impacted us. We wanted to kind of go deeper into styling options. So for example, you can see here, one example is if we look at the house cards, we have different styling options for empty fields with no known words and kind of fields which actually have relevant content. With more time, we would have liked to expand these kind of features and kind of fleshed out the styling across all the cards. But yeah, so that's our app. Oh God, the Zoom controls are getting in the way. That's our app. I think we just want to finish by saying thank you to everyone that's helped us out on the program. Thank you to Liz. Thank you to Tyra. Thank you so much to Rob, our mentor. He's been really helpful from the regular meetings to even going in and commenting on specific changes in our GitHub code. It's been really useful. So yeah, thank you as well for listening. There's any questions?
Wow, Team Biscuit, that was, I'm not going to make a pun. I've really taken myself to not make a pun. But no, that was amazing. Well, yeah, we're super, super, super proud of your team. And if there's any questions, yeah, please feel free to either come off mute or to throw it into the chat. Someone's coming off mute? Awesome. I guess maybe I'll ask a question. I would probably say, what is something that you learned throughout the way that was challenging, but you were kind of persistent in learning?
You want to go first, Alex?
No, go for it.
I would say, because I'll say with everybody in our team, each one had like her own individual skill that they could bring forward as to get this application working. But I feel like we switched roles. So I didn't take charge of the UX, and like sometimes like Radi didn't take charge of the HTML and CSS, because we wanted to learn with this program, and like we weren't afraid to fail. Yeah, so we just learned different things as we went by. So we didn't take on the roles that we knew. So yeah.
I love that. So actively kind of like looking for a challenge rather than being a bit kind of complacent with what you know already. That's a really good, yeah, like they were saying, really good attitude. Anyone, Alex, did you want to chime in as well?
Yeah, in terms of challenges, we were, I think a lot of the teams have said, we've all got experience working on individual projects, but kind of moving to working as a team and getting to grips with the collaborative side of things, I think has been it's been a really worthwhile challenge, but yeah, definitely something we've all gained a lot of experience in.
I love that. Yeah, I don't know, Radi, if you had one as well.
No, just echoing what Alex and Claude have said. I mean, at the very start of this, when we started, Claude actually mentioned that we shouldn't be afraid to fail, and the main point of this live program is to just come out learning something new, and so we've definitely achieved that, and that's why we're really happy with what we've put together.
Yeah, well done. Well, Team Biscuit, we are very, very proud of what you were able to do. So that takes us to our last team, which is Sam's team, who will be sharing their screen.
I will.
Amazing.
Can everybody see? Okay. So hey everyone, we're Team Switch, and we're here to present our version of the Game of Thrones app. My name is Hazel. I joined this program because I was interested in how digital designs are then implemented into code. And before I joined this program, I had a little bit of
Cut out a bit, Hazel.
What technical error?
Yeah. I'm not sure if someone else wants to kind of go whilst Hazel. I'm not sure if you're going to. Oh.
Sorry?
Yeah, we're getting you back.
Oh, okay. I don't know, my computer's acting up a bit. But okay, I'll start again. So hey everyone, we're Team Switch, and we're here to present our version of the Game of Thrones app. And my name is Hazel, and I joined this course because I was interested in how digital designs are then implemented using code. And before this course, I had a little bit of self-taught experience.
Hey everyone, my name is Beverly. I'm one of the co-leaders here at Team Switch. And before joining the program, I did a 6-week intensive course with Code First Girls because I did a degree in prehistory and archaeology, and I just wanted to transition in something that was completely different. So I decided to join a program to really develop my skill set, meet other people that are really passionate about code, and work on some briefs.
Guys, my name's Jamal. I graduated from Imperial College London with a degree in aeronautical engineering. During my time there, I coded mainly on Python and MATLAB. And once I graduated, I decided that was my career path to go. So I joined the YS program to learn more about coding.
Hey guys, my name is Meltem. I'm one of the co-leaders here at Team Switch. I'm a psychology graduate who turned to software developing because tech has always seemed like an area that would be more suitable for me, and the potential for growth and learning is immense, and the avenues that you can take are so many. And personally, I would like to become a full stack developer, and I have been learning, well, self-teaching for about just over a year maybe, and I realized that if I wanted to progress, I'd need to work in groups. So once YSYS presented me with the opportunity to do so, of course, I was very grateful. And yeah, working collaboratively now has been great for us on real projects with real companies, enhancing our coding skills as well as our networking skills. We'll just move on to the task that Brandwatch set for us. Was to, as everyone else has said in the previous presentations, I won't get into too much detail about the goals, but yeah, making a Game of Thrones app, which allows us to view, houses, characters, books using the API Ice and Fire. All of the goals, we as a group had to change some things because we, as well as time constraints and unforeseen circumstances, we started quite late. We had to change things like the sidebar into more of a nav bar. And then we added the search bar into the header. So things like that, as you will see in the demonstration to come. I'm just gonna pass it over to Beverly now, who's gonna go over the timeline for our brief.
Thanks, Martin. So yeah, initially we decided to break up our timeline into 4 phases. We used Slack as a way of communication. We created user stories using a Kanban board on Jira. And initially what we wanted was to break up phase 1 and 2 into the first sprint, and then phase 3 and 4 into the second sprint. However, as Milton mentioned, as is life, things don't always go the way we wanted. So there were situations where we all had personal commitments for job applications and exams and scholarships. So we weren't able to commit fully in the first few days of the project. So we decided to shift phase 1 really into like 2, 3, and 4, where those that were able to commit to the project as much as they can will just start working more on the functionality, as we wanted to have the main functionality down by the time the internal deadline came around. So phase 3 and 4 really was just stepping back from functionality and working on the CSS. And the end of the phase 4, which we managed to achieve by the external deadline using all the help we got from our mentors, peers such as Lionel, thank you Lionel, and overall using tutorials and resources, we were able to make last minute changes to the design, push everything to master, and have a working but minimal viable product done in time to present.
Across the group, we learned many different skills. Of course, because we were all different levels, we had different levels of coding experience, where I was more on the beginner side, where I was learning specific concepts. Other people in the group who are more advanced were learning functional components in React. Collaborating with team members and also communication. So not to say we didn't have these skills before, but as Beverly mentioned just earlier, because everyone had other commitments, job applications, etc., we had to make sure these skills were at top level to make sure the project was done. Leadership and organizational skills, Melton and Beverly specifically, because they are 2 co-leaders. Networking with company members and also other cohort members. Resilience, because it's just a natural skill that develops as you learn code because you run into many problems. And building on top of a pre-made repo. So Brandwatch kindly provided us with a skeleton. This was particularly helpful because when you begin your developing role, more often than not, you aren't required to start from scratch. So this was a great opportunity for us to gain insight into what it would actually be like if we were to get a job role in this position.
I believe Jamal's taken this slide. Is Jamal here?
It looks like he might have frozen. Just give him a second.
Beverly, do you want to just read the slide while, just so we can, yeah.
Perhaps, because I think he's actually left the Zoom. So perhaps maybe you could just move on to the next slide and then I think he's returned now. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, he's coming in.
Just give him a second so that he can present his part. I reckon his audio is probably connecting now because he's just rejoined.
The joys of Zoom.
The joys of Zoom. Jamal, can you hear us?
We're getting a bit of static.
Sorry, hello?
Oh, yes.
Hi, Jamal.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
We'll leave this bit to you then.
my computer broken up, so whatever. Yeah, so can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So why we decided to use these methods to solve the problem. So we use states and hooks throughout the entire project and throughout all the components because it has certain benefits that come along with it. So there's no need to restructure your components when making a change. We have the added benefit of that there are no method binding, so we don't need to use this props, our super constructors and stuff. And specs, the hooks, a lot more that we can use classes. We can decouple the logic, which makes both more reusable. A great components, and we have hook that they're part of it. Compartmentalized almost, so that they work throughout individually and they can be switched in and out, and that allows the sharing of logic between different parts of the app easier, as well as keeping all the logic that is related to each other in the same place. Do you guys get that?
Yeah, it was.
Hello?
Yeah, we had.
Okay, cool.
Thanks. So now I'm going to take you guys through a real quick demo of our React app. So this is what it looks like as a whole. It's obviously different to most groups because we didn't implement the Axiom documentation, but we still managed to make it work. So as you can see, we've got a header component, a cute little logo, and a search bar where if you enter a name like Jon Snow, Peter Baelish, that's the only ones I can remember really, it will display. So I'll type that in now. And you get the Jon Snow card, and subsequently here in the navbar component, if we decide to click on books, you'll get 10 books. If you want to see 25, I'm sure there's only 12. However, if you click on houses, it'll come down with 25 houses. If you want to see 50 and so forth, that will also work as well. We didn't manage to implement a lot of stretch goals, again, because we were really short on time and of members to help with the project, but I did manage to implement a sound a sound thing just to keep it fun. I don't know if you can hear, but it just plays the theme tune, and if you want it to stop, then you just go back and pause it. But yeah, this is really our app as a whole. As you can see, the cards go to the feed component. Again, we had to change some of the aesthetics around, so instead of having side, we have just a bar. But in terms of minimal bar product, this is what we were mostly, like me and Martin, working. I'm happy that we managed to achieve it regardless. Anyway, so I'm going to take you guys back to the presentation and hand it over to Martin.
Right, so in hindsight, there's many things that we would have done differently. There's some things that were obviously out of our control, but things that were in our control, I guess, would be that we could have added more stretch goals, like the load-in state, the pagination. We could have utilized use reducer hook, which contains all the states for the application. We would have limited our uses of online tutorials. To begin with, of course, because we're not very familiar with React, we did need some, using Code Academy and intro courses and things like that. However, we realized that when we go off and make, components individually, I guess, when you're just solely using online tutorials, it can be quite difficult to implement this into the bulk of the rest of the code. And especially if you don't really understand what you're doing, it can be quite difficult to communicate this to the rest of the group. So there's been problems where we had to, change some components completely last minute because of these miscommunication issues. So yeah, in hindsight, we'd try to understand a bit more what we are actually coding. We would have utilized the Axiom documentation provided by Brandwatch so that we wouldn't have to spend so much time on the aesthetics using CSS. And we'd also ensure that the app was responsive to different screen sizes.
Thank you for listening. We would like to say a special thanks to Elizabeth and Tyra for making this happen, and also to our mentor Sam, Alistair, and also Lionel for helping us with a large part of the code. If anyone has any questions, please let us know right now.
Wow, thanks guys. Thank you everyone. Sorry, that was really, really impressive, to be honest. And I think there's a few kind of different comments saying they quite like the transparent element, and I love that as well. And to be honest, I've never watched Game of Thrones, but I feel like I know everything about Game of Thrones now. And I guess I'd say ask a question of what's one thing you've learned about time management and project management whilst doing this on, I guess, quite a tight deadline?
Yeah, I would say one thing about project management that we've learned is making sure that we get the ball rolling early. So making sure that on the first day we have our plan set out straight from the beginning, that we have clear objectives, clear goals, and that we're really determined, because often a strong start is the best way, because towards the end we may run out of steam or whatever. So it's better that we start strong and finish off strong as well.
I love that. Did anyone else want to chime in on that too?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that with project management and things like that, with our group in particular, we had to take on roles that we didn't initially think we'd have to. So, being able to adjust to the extra workload per individual, having more responsibility, these were really important for us to be able to take on this responsibility, take on this workload, and yet still be able to present something viable and, you know, something that we can be proud of.
I love that. And yeah, well done to you all on that. I know Harry wanted to chime in too.
Well done again. And I was just wondering if, because I know obviously you guys did 2 projects, one for Hero, where you had to do the weather app using the Open Weather API, and then obviously this one from Brandwatch. And I was wondering if there was any learnings that you took from the first brief that you were able to then apply to the second one.
Well, I guess that it would be technology mainly that were the lessons learned from the first brief. Most of us were new to React and JavaScript, so getting our heads around just how like JavaScript syntax, and then obviously learning React on top of that, we will obviously like a big challenge, but the first project definitely had its lessons in what is the better way to go about it and like best practices within coding projects. So yeah, those are the lessons.
I'd also like to add that with the first project, we didn't particularly follow the best practices. We had some issues with components, so we had everything in the app.js, which is not something you should be doing with React. Everything should be in separate components, separate files, which we managed to do in this project. So I feel like in this one, it was definitely something that was more in line with best practices of React.
I love that. And that oh no, please jump on.
Oh no, it's okay. I was just gonna say, if there's anything I took from the first to second, it'd be momentum, because having not done a brief for a company in a very long time, it kind of gave me that, you know, push to really just continue coding. And even in the second project, where a lot of the bulk of the work was like me and one other member, I was still up, you know, until like 12:1, just trying to learn new things using that momentum from the first project and really applying it not to the second, and not, you know, kind of breaking down over the fact, oh, there's not a lot of people, oh, we've got like a few days left. Just like keep pushing myself to really do as much as I can and be proud, like showcasing the abilities that I've learned from the first into the second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I think echoing what Deborah actually just put in the chat was like, you know, being able to reflect back on like, you know, your projects and what you took from something and, you know, improvements, and being able to take accountability in parts as well is just so important. It definitely shows like a growth over, even if it's just 6 weeks. So yeah, we're so proud of you all. And so I'll actually go back to sharing my own screen. So with that, you know, you all did that. We're like super proud of what you did. So we'll give like a little kind of virtual clap. No one can, you know, if we're in real life, it's a bit more like, you know, fun. But a clap from all of us who's been able to see that growth over the last 6 weeks. And so, yeah, we wanted to also just read out some, I guess, a quote from each of the mentors. So I'll hand to Tyra for the first few.
So yeah, just wanted to echo what Liz just said. Really well done on all of the presentations. You guys smashed it. 6 weeks is not a long time, and you guys did 2 projects, and we're really proud of you and your learnings and your growth. So just received a couple of quotes from your mentors. So from Michelle, I've been so impressed with how far my group have come, not just technically, but also how they've grown and worked together as a team, demonstrating crucial skills which will be invaluable in the workplace. Their enthusiasm and commitment has made mentoring an absolute delight, and I wish them every success in the future. From Joyce, my mentor group has been really great. For each brief, they managed to deliver a functional product. They were asking really good questions in our sessions, both about the code that they were writing and about career-related things. They were lucky that each of them has some experience in the different side of tech. So they complemented each other really well and were able to help each other out. They all seemed really excited to learn about tech, and I think they'll do great at any company they end up working for. From Rob, The Team Biscuit lead, Claude, has shown explosive growth over the YSYS program, from having very little experience in writing code to teaching themselves enough to deliver two small front-end applications in such short time is a fantastic achievement and a strong start in a career as growth-minded software developers. They have all harnessed the power of Git to collaborate effectively, wrangled JavaScript to build dynamic apps that utilize open APIs, and deployed their HTML and CSS skills to design well-designed interfaces. Congratulations to Radi, Alex, Adelia, Yannick, and Claude.
Wow, and so I'll just continue. Some others, we have James, who said, it's been a pleasure mentoring my group over the last few weeks and seeing their commitment and enthusiasm for the task set. They've demonstrated the ability to problem solve, work as a team, and when required, ask the right questions. And from George, was able to say, I have been impressed by my group's passion for learning and wanting to develop. They have shown great progression in understanding Git and JS. And then lastly from Sam, who said, as for my mentor group, their development was a joy to watch. Their code evolved from fairly disorganized to beautifully formatted, which is some great feedback, easily readable and smartly laid out code. They were super inquisitive, and over time, their questions became more and more specific, which was indicative of a greater understanding of how code and applications worked. Such a massive improvement for the short time they had. So that was some amazing words from all the mentors, and a big shout out to all the mentors as well, who dedicated their time to help the cohort, but also to you guys to utilizing each and every one of them. And then also for them to also be able to see your growth in just 6 weeks is a huge achievement. So yeah, I'll leave this to you, Tyra.
So yeah, I just wanted to share some next steps from the program. So after the end of this program, we will continue to provide support for every member of this cohort. Again, we're super proud of you, and we want to really see kind of how you progress and what happens next in your life. So we want you guys to stay in touch, and in order to support you, we want to connect you with some career action plans. We also want to connect you with some coaching and mentorship. You guys would have already received the links to the application form for the mentor program that we're going to be running. And also now you guys are a member of the YSYS community, as well as the Create Jobs community as well. So please utilize these communities. These are now your tribes. These are going to be areas where you'll have access to job opportunities, to support and help from other members of the community. There's perks involved. There are free resources, all sorts. So please, stay in touch, stay involved, and yeah, we're really looking forward to what happens next for you guys. And just a couple of words about the YSYS 2023 mission, which is to connect 100,000 diverse individuals to opportunities within the startup ecosystem by 2023. So, the main focuses for this are Talent Door, which is what this program has been run on, and also Founders Door. So welcome guys, you're now part of the 100,000 diverse individuals who have now been introduced to opportunities in tech. So yeah, just a huge thank you to our partners and delivery partners and our mentors, Brandwatch, 3Bar, 10X, ePorter, Code Untapped, Hero, ID and CoroKids, Publicis Sapient, GWAP, Google, and Create Jobs. And also to our funders. So we were supported by the Mayor of London, Stride, and Leap as well.
Yeah, I'll leave that to you.
Oh, I was going to say a huge congratulations to the Software Developer Now program. We're so proud of you. Fran's got a raised hand as well. Go ahead, Fran.
Yeah, I just wanted to say from on behalf of Create Jobs, really, what a pleasure it's been to be involved in this program. We've really loved working with you. I have really enjoyed all your pitch back presentations. I'm not an expert in this area at all, but I have learned so much, and I feel like you've been so generous with the way you've described your processes and the way that you've worked with soft skills and hard skills together and collaborated and understood where you had learnings. It's just been really inspiring. And I've also been blown away by the fact that so many of you are self-taught, which blows my mind. And actually Pei Chin, who had to jump off, who's one of our funders, whose message was at the beginning, said the same thing. She couldn't believe that you've all so many of you are self-taught and have come from different disciplines and are applying those skills, and it's genuinely really impressive. So thank you. It's been a pleasure to be part of this process and watch these pictures this afternoon. Well done, everybody.
Yes, I love that. So yeah, I think that kind of, I guess, ends the graduation, and I don't know if we can't say as much how proud we are, but honestly it has been an exciting 6 weeks, and me and Tyra, every time we jump off a live session, we're always just like, it's so great to see them asking questions and getting involved and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we're just super happy to get down to this day and see what you guys were able to put together. And yeah, so that's from me on that.
Cool. Well done, everybody. So after this call, I'm going to say, guys, go ahead, grab a drink, use the bathroom, you know, do what you need to do. But straight after this, I'm going to say at about 3:20, I would just ask you guys to come back onto this call, just the